Here we are again. Today's drama is around, have they yassified the Beatles?
I'm going to put a stop to the Beatles biopic. I'm putting together a team. Come here if you want to help me.
Also, it's just such a legacy, like, you can't ruin it. They can't mess this up.
The casting for the biopic is insulting, and all the comments were like, this is not right, like, go back to the drawing board, like, you need to fix this.
Why is there no single Scouse actor playing one of the Beatles? Like, as someone who's from Liverpool, there's so many actors available.
My immediate thought is, yeah, these are not my boys. Next.
Sam Mendes, director of American Beauty, 1917, Skyfall, etc., announced last year that he would be making a Beatles biopic with 4 films devoted to each Beatle member.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 separate movies.
He wanted to make 4 films so he could tell their stories separately, saying that they're 4 different human beings. Perhaps this is a chance to understand them a little more deeply, but together, all 4 films will tell the story of the greatest band in history. I just felt the story of the band was too huge to fit into a single movie, and that turning it into a TV miniseries just somehow didn't feel right. Saying that I'm honored to be telling the story of the greatest rock band of all time, and excited to challenge the notion of what constitutes a trip to the movies. We will go into the 4 movie thing a bit later on. On April 1st, a few days ago, Sam Mendes took to the stage at CinemaCon. He announced the estimate release date of April 2028. They're all planning on having a massive theatrical release, but not necessarily saying if the films would be released separately or all together. The most interested part of this whole announcement was definitely going to be the casting. So here are the casting. Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney, Harris Dickinson as John Lennon, Joseph Quinn as George Harrison, and Barry Keoghan as Ringo Starr, with each one having their own film to devote theirself to each Beatle. Sam Mendes goes on to say, the first binge-able theatrical experience. Questions. The first binge-able experience, very interesting. So let's just put this out there. Each feature film is about an hour and 40 minutes each, like nearly 2 hours, including all the like cinema adverts, right? So you're saying 2 hours per film, 4 films. That's 8 hours in the cinema, right? I don't know about you, okay? I barely made it through June. Not that it was a bad film, but it's so long. Like, I can't be sat in the cinema for 8 hours. Going back to the casting announcement drama. Obviously, we need to look at the date that this announcement was released. April 1st. Okay, so with the nature of it being April 1st, which was April Fool's Day, many fans and people thought, this was an April Fool's. Fans were convinced that this was an April Fool's joke, with many at least hoping it was. I'm going to do a dramatic reading of some of these tweets people were saying. Wait, it's April Fool's Day. Tomorrow they're going to announce the real Beatles biopic cast. I cannot wait until they reveal the new cast. And it was all a joke, guys. Haha. Yup. Happy April Fools! Is this an April Fool's joke? No way it's real. I thought 'twas April Fool's post. Wait, is it first? April Fools. April Fools, please. Please let this be April Fools. This casting has to be a joke, right? Can't get further than that. April Fools? No, this is April Fool's joke. It's an April Fool's prank. April Fools! I thought it was an April Fool's joke. April Fools! Not a single accurate casting here. Has to be an April Fool's prank, surely. April Fools, or is this real? This cast is the worst. None of them look like a member of the Beatles. I hope it's April Fool's. And I'm going to stare into your soul when I say this. But it's not an April Fool's. It got to the point where people were so, taking the piss of this whole casting that they just started posting their own casting. We had One Direction a lot. We had just random picture of some male geezers. Just really taking the piss of this casting. Now we need to dive a little bit deeper and understand why is there so much discussion and very annoyed and sad fans to do with this casting. So thanks to my Uncle John, who is like a Beatles super fan. When I think of Uncle John, I think of Beatles, like they're in the same wavelength. I asked him if he could do a little paragraph on each Beatle, so then the people like me, who don't know loads about the Beatles, can kind of understand each one and whether each actor we think could embody that. If you don't want to listen to this part, just skip to the time on the screen. The Beatles started when John Lennon formed a group called the Quarrymen when he was 16. In 1957, the Quarrymen played At a Garden Fate, which was the first time John Lennon met Paul McCartney. In 1958, George Harrison was introduced by Paul and at 15 auditioned for the lead guitarist, with a bit of hesitation from John thinking he was too young. Other than that, he ended up joining them. The Quarrymen became the Silver Beatles, and then around 1960, with their new drummer Pete, they became the Beatles. They played a residency in Hamburg, Germany Germany before coming back to England around June 1962. Brian Epstein became their manager. George Martin was the producer, and he was not satisfied with the aspects of the drumming, in which Ringo Starr was asked to join the group. And then the rest is history. John Lennon is the rhythm guitarist born in 1940. John's mother Julia introduced him to music. She played the banjo but was unfortunately killed in a car accident, which ended up leading John to be brought up by his aunt, Mimi. John was the first one to get married and shocked the world in 1968 by leaving his wife for Yoko Ono. The Beatles were never the same after this. John and Yoko moved to New York in early 70s, where he continued his music career and took time out to raise his son, Sean. John was assassinated in December 1980. Paul McCartney, bass guitarist and pianist. Born in 1942, he lost his mother when he was in his teens and was really the face of the band, viewed as the sensible one and the one with his feet on the ground. He wrote many of their most successful songs, and when the Beatles' manager died in 1967, Paul seemed to assume charge. Paul wrote many other successful songs and went on to have a very successful music career with his band Wings, then as a solo artist. He is now 83 and can still play a 3-hour set consisting of 30-something songs. George Harrison, lead guitarist, born 1943. George was the youngest member of the Beatles and is known as an exceptional guitarist who played some of the most complex solos for songs written by John and Paul. The most streamed Beatles song today was not written by John Lennon or McCartney, it was written by George, Here Comes the Sun. He was the first Beatle to have a solo #1 and is known as the quiet one, but has been described as the quiet one who couldn't stop talking. George passed away from cancer in 2001 and left a charitable legacy called the Material World Charitable Foundation, which helps support charities today. Ringo Starr, drummer, was born in 1940. He was the oldest of the four, and when he joined the Beatles in 1962, he had been on the music scene for a number of years before joining them. Ringo definitely had his own place in the band. He was very funny during TV interviews and would have the American press in stitches with his remarks. Ringo was highly regarded as one of the best rock drummers by the other three, and went on to have a successful solo career. He also acted in several films and continues to make music today with his own band. If you want to read the whole thing my uncle wrote, I will put it in my description because it is actually very interesting. We say thank you, Uncle John. Okay, so the first criticism of this casting is that they look nothing like the Beatles. Like, with the Beatles, they weren't, no offense to the Beatles, okay, chiseled lads. And basically people are saying that the actors are too pretty to play the Beatles, and that none of them actually look anything like the Beatles. Don't get me wrong, like there are times where when you cast a biopic, sometimes the people don't actually look like the person that they're being cast as. There's always makeup and prosthetics and things like that, so it's not the end of the world, but there's definitely actors who can do both, who can look like the person and also act like the person. But basically saying that, you know, they look more like chiseled and movie stars. Like, there's a lot of outrage that none of them are actually from Liverpool.
The core of this city comes right back down to creativity. So can you tell me why the casting people for this Beatles film have gone elsewhere? The Beatles made this city what it is today, and I feel like this city has owed something back, and that could have been the Beatles film. There are 4 lads somewhere in Liverpool that could have been casted for this film and careers would have been skyrocketed for them. This could have been the next best thing for Liverpool. It really could have. You could have had a full cast of Scousers who don't do a shit accent. It could have been real, it could have been raw. The film students I know the places in Liverpool better than anyone. There's young adults out there who could have really started their careers from this. And if you really wanted to do a film about Scouse history that bad, you'd have done it properly. All they've done is got the 4 most popular lads in TV and film at the minute and brought them in.
One user wrote, "I'm sorry, but you're telling me they couldn't find any Scousers to play the Beatles in the new movie? How are you going to make a film about the band that put Liverpool on the map and not cast people from Liverpool?" A majority of these comments and things coming out is that a lot of people just wanted them to pick unknown actors. Like, this would have been a great chance for unknown actors to get pushed into the mainstream, and also it would make it easier to believe. Another person pointed out that there are actors in Liverpool. As a Scouser, there is literally so many good actors in Liverpool. We literally have LIPA. Surely they could have just taken a lad from there. I don't think there was any casting calls in Liverpool to begin with. Like, that would have been a really good opportunity to have an open casting for a film like this, especially in Liverpool. Like, there would have been so many people. Adding on to that, the fact that they are 2 well-known actors playing this, and that they've been literally dominating social media and the movie space for the last couple of years. It's not like these actors who are playing the Beatles have been in loads of films and stuff, but they definitely have been on social media and promoting other films. And now, when it was announced in 2023, obviously, like we talked about in the Britney biopic video, I keep on making biopic videos, and it's all like musicians as well. Like I said with the Britney biopic, there's always going to be people casting for you. So many people are like, this is a fan cast. What the studios have just leaned into people's thoughts and TikTok videos on who they think should be in the film. And one of the other major points that we have to talk about when making 4 films is that it's a cash grab. Obviously, making 4 separate movies is going to cost a lot of money, especially making it to the standard that they say they're going to make it to. So it's not going to be cheap. And I guess casting familiar faces, they already have a fan base, so guaranteed a certain audience because there's already going to be some people who are going to want to see it because of the actor. People have said, they wouldn't need to cast famous faces because a Beatle biopic itself would have just brought in people anyway. We're going to get into the actual casting a bit later, but first let's talk about the family's involvement in this biopics. More than one, guys. Remember, there's more than one. The project marks the first time that the families of McCartney, Starr, John Lennon, George Harrison have signed off on a project and have granted full life story along with the band's Sony Music Publishing controls to the rights of a majority of the Beatles songs. Although the families have been involved, producer Pippa Harrison has insisted that there is nothing off limits and no sense of the band wanting him to tell a particular authorised version of their rise to success. George Harrison's first wife, Pattie Boyd, recently took to X and fired off a tweet about how the movie would handle her role. "I wonder who will get cast to play me," she said. "That's assuming that I get a feature in any of the movies." So let's dive into each person who has been cast so far. Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney. Now, I'm just hoping that they didn't cast him because they have the same name. If they did that, then guys, the Bake Off guy, he's a Paul, right? He could play him if they are doing the name thing. Paul Mescal, we know from Gladiator 2, Normal People, who is a Irish actor, will be playing Paul McCartney. Initially, off the bat, out of all of them, I wouldn't say this is like the craziest one or the one that is the most controversial. He has done theatre before, and he has a musical background.
So it must be, for so it's written on the doorway to paradise.
He can sing and play multiple instruments, including the guitar, piano, violin, and flute. I'm going to give my overall analysis at the end of the video, so I'll give my actual thoughts then. But many have said that, he doesn't have the right features.
Look at the cherubic cheeks, the downturned eyes, the sort of English bulldog face, the jowls, the doe eyes, the Eeyore energy, always kind of a little sad, a little confused. What is this Roman god? That's not my Paul.
Next we have Harris Dickinson as John Lennon. Harris Dickinson, who we know from Baby Girl.
Good girl.
Breathe, girlies. And men. We could all appreciate a little baby girl, you know what I mean? And we also saw him in Where the Crawdads Sing, which is generally one of my favourite films of all time. His music background is that he has been in music projects, like directing music videos and writing songs with his partner. Next we have Joseph Quinn as George Harrison. Joseph Quinn is probably well known for his role in Stranger Things and Quiet Place. He is an English actor, so is Harris Dickinson. I forgot to add that, he is an English actor. I do want to quickly add that Joseph's mum is actually from Liverpool, so I expect he's gonna not want to mess up the accent. His musical background is he is a musician who sings. I didn't even know this, but he plays guitar and has posted about it on social media, and he is a songwriter. He should release one with Doja Cat. We should have a Joseph Quinn and Doja Cat single. Oh look, it's my mother. Now we're at the depths of the deep blue sea. This is like the most controversial pick, and that is Barry Keoghan as Ringo Starr. Compared to the others, many people are very outraged. Don't get me wrong, people are pissed off with the others, but this takes the crown for being the most controversial. With a lot of people being a little mean, okay? Like, maybe a little bit too mean. Saying that he's basically too unattractive to play Ringo. Barry Keoghan's probably biggest performance of the last few years is Saltburn, where he played a Scouser.
Good. Yeah, good. Thanks.
Yeah, well.
Prescott.
Many made fun of it because his accent didn't kind of stay in one accent. He kind of slipped between a lot of accents.
Does Barry do 7 different accents? Yes. Does it make any sense? No.
And that it wasn't that good. Now, the Scouse accent is actually very hard.
You see, I'm talking facts here. I don't do if, buts and maybes. I do absolutes. And, like, if your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle. But she doesn't, so she's not. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
If you're a Scouse person watching this, I love you. I love the Scouse accent. It's amazing. And I'm not saying I could do it myself. Okay, I definitely can't do the Scouse accent. But he is getting a lot of heat over this because people don't want him to do that again. With a little bit of training, anything's possible. So I think he would be alright. Now, his musical background is probably a lot less than the others so far, with Ringo Starr speaking about the project with Entertainment Tonight, saying, "I think it's great. I believe he's somewhere taking drum lessons, and I hope not too many. So what are my thoughts? I was following along very loosely to this whole Beatle biopic thing. I generally didn't realise until today, when researching this video, there was going to be 4 films. I thought it was just going to be 1 film. I didn't think that they were going to spend so much time doing 4 different films on each Beatle. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's an interesting thing, and I don't know how it's going to work. Like, are they going to release them all at once? Are they going to not do that? I probably will not be able to survive that long in the cinema, so I might have to do it over a couple of days. Okay, it might have to be a very non-bingeful experience for me. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. The casting wise, I'm with everyone, okay? I wish they kind of cast unknown actors just for the benefit of actors. Don't get me wrong, like, the actors they've chosen will have me seated. They could have chosen actors who were not as known, and they would have been, I would have been seated for that. It is sad a little bit. I do feel for actors, especially in Liverpool. Like, this could have been the biggest thing of your career. Like, this could have been, you know, what you've been waiting for your whole life. I'm glad that the family has signed on to it. I'm glad this family's involved. We don't have any of this, you know, where the family doesn't like it or anything. I'm glad that they're involved.
Like, I see the vision. I see it. Like, think about it, like, in terms of, like, when they have their hair and makeup done by professional movie people. Like, I see it. I see it. And honestly, it's not even only about how good they look or how much it matches. Like, these are good actors. And I feel like they'll be able to encapsulate how they were. Like, it'll make the movie better.
Question in the comments today is, what are your opinions on this casting? Are you fed up with biopics? And are you going to be seated for the whole 8 hours potentially of this movie binge? So thank you guys so much for watching. We are very close to hitting 17k, so very excited about that, and I hope you have a lovely April. Bye guys.